finally, UFC 269 is coming up this week with the best title on the line to end off the year. The lightweight title is probably the best belt out of all the belts in all of the UFC divisions. All divisions period and MMA period right now. The lightweight strap. Look at the lightweight rankings compared to all the other divisions. You could say bantamweight and featherweight are close, but I just think the top level of those, the bantamweight division is just absolutely stacked. Non-ranked and ranked fighters. Same with lightweight and featherweight, but the lightweight division, man, I still believe they kind of have the edge. I'm looking at their contenders in the rank scene, the top 15 fighters, and they're just, god damn. We just had Radel Fiziev. Absolutely. It was a good fight. It was a good fight, high level as hell, and they're number 12 and number 14, I think. But Ilia Topuria and Movsar Evloev is 15 and 14, I believe, or 15 and 13 in the feather. Bro, let's just say lightweight, bantamweight, and featherweight are all tied together. So one of the best belts we're ending off the year with one of the best belts on the line, tied with featherweight and bantamweight. So regardless, they're all in one category. So it's an S tier ranking belt. If I had to put them on the tier list, or A tier, the highest tier belt is on the line to end off the year, which is freaking amazing. Thank goodness. And we'll finally find out who the true king of the lightweights is going to be. Even though Oliveira is the champion of the division, and I believe he is the champion of the division, but a win over Poirier would officially end the debate of who is the best lightweight on the planet currently, because a big majority of the MMA community sees Dustin Poirier as the uncrowned king of the lightweights. And if Poirier gets it done, he will officially be recognized as the champion, the divisional champ, by the UFC. He will have the belt. He will have the golden C by his name. And yeah. But anyways, about the card. The card is really good. It could have been a top 3 card or top 4 card if they had Masvidal and Leon Edwards on the card. But unfortunately, that fight got pulled off, and Dricus Duplessis is off the card. But Andrew Muniz is still fighting, or Munhoz is still fighting. And yeah, this card is still good. I'm still looking towards this card because the card is just stacked from the bottom of the early prelims to the main event. So I'm ready to friggin' watch this card already. I can't wait. And let's get on to my picks already. Taking too long. Up next, Pedro Munhoz versus Dominic Cruz. A really interesting fight. A really high-level fight because Pedro Munhoz is a high-level fighter. Dominic Cruz, obviously, high-level fighter, former champion. And I was gonna say Pedro Munhoz, but now I'm like, I have converted to Cruz, to believe in Cruz. At first I thought Pedro Munhoz, calf kicks, easy prediction. Just like how Cejudo calf kicked Dominic Cruz, slow down the movement, but Henry Cejudo is like really good. He's on a different level. He would easily beat Pedro Munhoz. He's a really good bantamweight. I think if he came back right now, he would beat every single bantamweight except for Piotr Yan, and he would have a good fight with Piotr Yan. Hopefully he can come back. I want to see that fight, but Henry Cejudo, he's a really good fighter. Stand up, grappling. Obviously his grappling is really good, but he timed those leg kicks really well on Dominic Cruz, and I just feel like, and that was a Dominic Cruz who was, I believe, 2 years off of injuries, and so he couldn't really train. He wasn't training those 2 years off, and then he got a 2 weeks notice signed for Henry Cejudo. So almost all the odds were against Cruz, but now he's back. Even though he had a close fight with Casey Kenny, it was still a clear win for Dominic Cruz, and he's gonna be in a bigger cage. He just shook off the cobwebs against Cejudo and Casey Kenny, and he's a really good outside fighter. And you look at Pedro Munhoz's last fight, Jose Aldo was playing the outside game the entire fight and was just beating him to the punch, defending the leg kicks. Obviously, Jose Aldo is a much better, like the style of Cruz and Jose Aldo is way different. And that's the thing. I feel like Dominic Cruz is a much better outside fighter than Jose Aldo, and that was Jose Aldo's I think that was like probably the first time I ever seen him like outside fight, probably the whole fight. Like that was the main game plan for Jose Aldo, and he's more of a stationary target. But Dominic Cruz, with all his stance switches, it's going to be hard to land those leg kicks and just moving out the way of those kicks. And it's a bigger cage. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this earlier, but it's a bigger cage for Dominic Cruz to work his magic. The footwork. That's the best thing. That's the best thing about his game, the footwork. And this is the Dominic Cruz that is finally back, shook off the cobwebs. And then you have an undersized Pedro Munhoz coming off of a loss. He's shorter. He has a shorter reach. He's smaller in mass. I just think that Pedro Munhoz is going down. Dominic Cruz is coming back up, going back to himself. And Pedro Munhoz is not young himself. He's 35 years old. Dominic Cruz is 36 years old. Both of these guys are old, so no one has the age advantage. No one is in their prime. And Dominic Cruz is just, he still has that skill. He's really good, and he still has that footwork. He's getting better, or not getting better, but he's getting better in the sense that he got worse. So he was good at his prime, then he got worse from the injuries and all the layoffs. Now he's coming back little by little. Well, not little by little, but he's coming back. He's just better than he was in the Cejudo fight. And Henry Cejudo, elite fighter, like top 15 GOATs, and really good fighter. Timed the calf kicks really well, or the leg kicks in general really well. He's just on a different level, Henry Cejudo is. And Dominic Cruz, I think he got this one in the bag. I'm going to go with a 29-28 decision. 29-28 decision Cruz. Up next, Josh Emmett versus Dan Ige. I'm going to be going with Emmett here. I just think he's more technical than Dan Ige. Dan Ige in his last fight did not look too good against the Korean Zombie. And Josh Emmett looked good, even though his win over Shane Burgos is aging pretty badly, because I'm pretty sure... No, he just lost to Edson Barboza, and then he just rebounded back against Billy Quarantillo. But Josh Emmett, he had a broken knee, or not a broken... He tore something in his knee against Shane Burgos, and that's when Shane Burgos was on a rise. He was more fresh. And Josh Emmett still dropped him. His power, there's no question about his power. He's the hardest hitting 145er right now. And Dan Ige has crazy power too, but Josh Emmett is more consistent. He's proven his power multiple times. Ige just proved his against Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker is a good fighter in the division, a really good prospect, and Dan Ige just put him out cold in one shot. But Josh Emmett has been putting out people, dropping people left and right consistently way more times than Dan Ige. So I trust in the power of Josh Emmett, and Josh Emmett has good movement. He's just an overall better technical fighter than Dan Ige, and I think this is gonna be an easy win for Josh Emmett, but I could see this being fight of the night, to be honest. Dan Ige, he brings the fight. He always brings the fight. Almost all of his fights, he brought the fight, made it competitive, made it a dogfight. So I'm gonna go with Josh Emmett, 29-28 decision. Ige could win this, to be honest, because we don't know how well Josh Emmett is gonna be after coming back from that knee surgery, but he beat Shane Burgos on on one leg, because his knee tore up in the early part of round 1, and dropped Shane Burgos twice, and won the fight. So Josh Emmett, better technically, good movement, more dangerous power. But Dan Ige, he's durable. I think he's durable, and he has good power himself too. So it's going to be a close fight, but I think Josh Emmett gets the clear 29-28 decision for Josh Emmett. Up next, Raulian Paiva versus Sean O'Malley. I'm going to be going with Sean O'Malley. He has power. He has big power. Raulian Paiva, he is a really good fighter, but he just took a lot of damage in his last fight, and that chin, it can be cracked, especially by a guy like Sean O'Malley. He has a lot of variety in his kicks, slick hands, and really good power for the bantamweight division. So I think Sean O'Malley wins this pretty easily. The power is going to be everything, and the low durability of Raulian Paiva. He took a lot of damage the last fight, and he was getting absolutely battered in the first round. But on paper, he got the win. Should have been a draw, but Raulian Paiva is a good fighter. He could probably weather the storm against Sean O'Malley and come back. But Sean O'Malley has really good cardio. He proved it against Chris Matinho. Even though Chris Matinho is basically a punching bag, the movement of Sean O'Malley, he kept backing up the entire fight against Chris Matinho. He was moving, punching, throwing flashy stuff, and it looked like he was still good in the third round. It didn't look like he was gassed. He wasn't on his knees huffing and puffing for air. He didn't need a freaking inhaler or CPR or anything like that. He was still throwing shots at maximum effort in the third round with all that movement in all the 3 rounds. He kept moving around. His feet was active the entire fight, throwing big shots, throwing big kicks. I just think Sean O'Malley has good cardio, and Raulian Paiva, he could potentially weather the storm. But either way, it's O'Malley by decision or by TKO. But I'm going to go with the O'Malley round 2 TKO. Up next, Kai Kara-France versus Cody Garbrandt. I'm going to go with Kai Kara-France. At first, I was going to go with Cody Garbrandt. He's a bantamweight coming down to the flyweight division. It's just the power. The power, he's the hardest hitting 135er. and he's coming down to the flyweights who never ever felt that kind of power before. But look at Cody Garbrandt's technical abilities. They did not change at all. He did not change anything. Maybe he started throwing kicks a little bit more, but that's basically it. Nothing changed. He's still fast, really powerful, obviously, but that's it. He really has nothing else. I mean, he does have good head movement in the inside, but I just think when he inside fights, he's going to get emotional, because when he starts throwing his power shots, that's when he's going to start throwing the same hand over and over. And I don't think you can do that to Kai Kara-France, because he's actually a really slick striker on the feet himself. He has big power too. He dropped Brandon Royval, and he actually has a good chin, because, to be honest, I'm surprised he was still conscious after that spinning elbow by Brandon Royval. It was out of nowhere. It was literally out of nowhere. He was running into it. Still ate it. I mean, he got dropped, and then he got dropped with a knee, but he was still conscious, still fighting back, and eventually survived that until he got guillotined. And he has good ground game himself. Cody Garbrandt actually has good ground game, but Kai Kara-France, he has good ground game himself. And on the feet, I'm just thinking about it on the feet. Cody Garbrandt just did not change at all. And that's basically it. He's on the outside. He has a reach disadvantage too. So he's going to get picked apart when he tries to outside fight and move around. And then when he tries to get in, he does have good head movement in the inside. But I feel like he's going to get emotional if he's going to be chasing that knockout, because eventually he's going to have to realize he's going to have to knock out Kai Kara-France. And I'm going to mention this. Kai Kara-France's personality could play a factor in this fight, because after you saw that Bontorin fight, he was just taunting Bontorin after he KO'd him. And I feel like he's going to do the same to Cody Garbrandt. And before the fight, he's going to be talking to him, or during the fight, and stuff like that. Get in his head and get him emotional, start to brawl. I'm going to go with Kai Kara-France. And I'm thinking he's going to get a third round TK. No. I'm going to say 29-28 decision for Kai Kara-France. This is going to be a close one, but I could see Cody Garbrandt ending it too. This is going to be a banger. I can't wait. Up next in the co-main event, Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena for the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship. We're all going for the same person. Let's be honest. This person named Amanda Nunes literally has the word man in her name. She has more testosterone. She's just bigger. And she's literally the guy of the male in her relationship. She's lesbian, and she's dating a girl, and she's like the man of the relationship. Obviously, she would assume that role, because just look at her. She literally has the word man in her name. But to up the stakes, we're going to have to predict how will Amanda Nunes get this done, and the specific time she will get it done, and where in the octagon, because obviously it's going to be a first round KO or a first round submission, unless she chooses to go to the second round. But it will be finished in the first. But I think it's going to be a KO, and the shot that's going to finish it is probably going to be a right hook or a right straight. I'll say a right straight. Down the pipe. Boom. There goes Pena. She's out on the canvas. And I think it's going to be in the middle. Pena's going to give her space. She's going to give her respect. It's going to be on the outer edge by the cage. Yeah, that's where I think it's going to get it. That's where I think Amanda Nunes is going to KO her. So I got Nunes, first round KO. right straight down the pipe next to the cage, in the blue corner by Pena's corner, because she's going to be backing up. Easy money for Amanda Nunes. Easy money for everyone, but the odds are like obviously ridiculous, so you're not going to be making that much money. And finally, to the glorious main event that we're about to have, Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier for the UFC Lightweight Championship. The best S-tier ranking belt on the line. God. Finally, this is the true fighters. This is the number 1 lightweight versus the number 2 lightweight. I can't wait to see this one. And I hope, to be honest, it goes all 5 rounds, just back and forth war, or just however it works. I'm going to love it either way. I don't even care. But I hope this one doesn't end in the first and second round, because I could see it ending in the first and second round for either or. But I'm going to go with Oliveira in the 3rd round with a submission. I think his cardio is a little underrated. Obviously, he doesn't have the cardio of Poirier. Poirier, his cardio is insane for the amount of power that he packs on his wide body. But I feel like Oliveira, he has pretty good cardio. But the feet, Oliveira has really good striking. His hands are just crisp as fuck. And I know a lot of people are going to call me crazy, but I think Charles Oliveira technically is a better striker than Dustin Poirier. The kicks and the hands Dustin Poirier actually has really good hands. So I think their hands are pretty similar, but I just think Charles Oliveira, everything is so tight. Everything is so accurate. And the kicks, he has a good variety of kicks. The front kick, calf kicks, jumping crane kicks. But Oliveira is going to be really competitive on the feet with Dustin Poirier. A lot of people think that Dustin Poirier is just the man on the feet. Understandably, he KO'd McGregor on the feet, but there was many factors in that fight. It was a full-on MMA fight. Poirier mixed in the takedowns, threw in the leg kicks. Obviously, McGregor was literally just boxing the entire time, except for throwing like a couple kicks. But it was already too late by the time the damage was done to his calf. And Conor McGregor might have one of the weakest calves I've ever seen. Because you look at calf kicks, it does work. But McGregor's one, he took like 10, I think. And it was just swelled up and he couldn't move. Oliveira. And I think part of the reason is because McGregor has been out for so long. And while he was out, he was probably just training boxing. He wanted to fight Manny Pacquiao. And obviously when he came into the fight against Dustin Poirier, he kept talking about boxing. He kept talking about how he's going to box after the UFC. And you literally saw in his fighting style against Poirier in the rematch, he was a boxer. And the trilogy, like, to be honest, is a no contest to me. Poirier did prove that he still got good power and he got good ground game, but again, McGregor pulling a guillotine, like, what the hell is that? So McGregor on the feet isn't really that effective if you obviously mix up the arts on him. Like, it could be mix it up, drop them with the overhand. Look at Chad Mendes, same thing, but he was like really gassed, so he landed a big shot on Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor does have a good chin, so Poirier does have good power, but Mendes, he was literally gassed, but he still landed a lot of big bombs on Conor McGregor because of that threat of the takedown. But obviously, we already know Dustin Poirier ain't going to shoot on Charles Oliveira, or he shouldn't shoot on Charles Oliveira, because he has way better ground game than McGregor. Way better. The jiu-jitsu, the wrestling, everything about Oliveira. And that's Oliveira's bread and butter. The BJJ aspect of the game. So Poirier is not going to be shooting any takedowns on Oliveira. Maybe he will in desperation. But Oliveira, don't take down Oliveira, Poirier. If I was Poirier, I wouldn't want to take down Oliveira. So now Dustin Poirier isn't a dual threat fighter anymore, and now Charles Oliveira is that dual threat fighter. Dustin Poirier is going to be relying on his striking. Obviously, he can't use his grappling in this fight offensively, but you look at their wins too. Charles Oliveira is so underrated. His skills are underrated, and his wins. A win over Michael Chandler by KO in the second round. Look at Gaethje. He couldn't even put him away in a 3-round fight. And Chandler could have won the decision too, until he sold and dropped his hands in the third round. He was winning that round. He's winning 2-1 rounds until he dropped his hands. But Michael Chandler, elite opponent. Tony Ferguson. We never ever seen Tony Ferguson get dominated on the ground like that. Tony Ferguson had nothing on the ground for Charles Oliveira. I understand he was older, but it's still Tony Ferguson. No one has ever done that. He's the first person to do it. And Kevin Lee, he submitted Kevin Lee in the third round. Good finish over Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee is a really good fighter. You look at his wins, and then you look at Poirier's last 3 wins after coming off of a loss to Khabib. A really close fight with Dan Hooker. He almost got KO'd, lost 2 rounds. And then he had a really good fight. I mean, he lost the first round against McGregor. But stylistically, Poirier was the dual threat fighter in that fight. McGregor was a one. He had the only way he could win is on the feet. So, and especially when he's fighting a dual threat fighter, his striking ability is compromised. So the styles did not mix well for McGregor. And oh my god, voice crack. And then the third fight, the trilogy, is a no contest. He didn't even check any kicks. The elbow didn't even, I don't even think he blocked the front kick. McGregor was just too weak from training all his kicks. So Poirier, in my opinion, is on a 2-fight win streak. And his performance, it was good, but look how close it was. I understand Charles Oliveira's last fight. I mean, he was dominating everyone except for Michael Chandler, but he finished Michael Chandler. Gaethje couldn't do that. And Oliveira also proved that he has heart. He still comes back, sticks to the game plan, and he's controlling the octagon. So he's going to control the octagon against Poirier. And I think a lot of people are going to be shocked how easily Oliveira can get this done. I think he should be like a moderate favorite in my opinion. But, maybe a slight favorite. But I think a lot of people are going to be shocked. And I hope Charles Oliveira shocks the world. I really like this guy. I'm done doubting him. He will be, and still, the best lightweight on the planet. So I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira, 3rd round submission. I could see him dropping Poirier with the hands because Poirier is going to be respecting the takedowns. And yeah, I think Oliveira is going to get that back, latch up that rear naked choke, and it's over. So Oliveira, 3rd round submission.